Do you want me to
I got
pull
it.
it up, or you? Okay, you've got it again. Thank you. I'm very sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. So the information processing theory. So as we are practicing those skills and we're learning them, we're incoming, it goes to the sensory memory. Then as we keep practicing and keep working on it in those short increments throughout the beginning stages, we go to the working memory. Then as we're rehearsing it more and more and more, and as we'll keep spreading them out as we go along, we'll hit that long-term memory. But if we just practice them for a week and then drop it and don't revisit it throughout the school year, it will never make its way to the long-term memory because we did it once and they thought they were all done with it. But does anybody have any questions? All right, well, that is the end of our presentation.
Well, thank you guys a lot. That was really a 2 sets of really nice work tonight from both of the groups. And thank you for including the little bit on the how it ties into the theory, because the theoretical framework that underlies the practice is really what this class is supposed to be helping you kind of sort through. And seeing how the pieces of this are tied into your brain structures and how the repetitiveness and the rehearsal and that helps you encode it is always a good thing. There were a couple things that were in the chat that didn't get saved that if anybody's interested, if you weren't able to see that while the presentation was going on, if you're using a Chrome browser or Chromebook, they have a Screencastify add-on or extension that you can add that allows you to capture things if you were looking at verbal feedback or like screencasting to give feedback, as was brought up with one of the presentations. The other piece was I use Zoom a lot for giving verbal feedback on like long papers and things like that. Because you can screencast basically by recording as you're going through it. And then it drops out very nicely into a small video. It shrinks the size of the file very well for you. And then you can drop it into your Google Drive or Dropbox or into YouTube to throw into your classroom like that. Other than that, do you have any questions or anything?
I just had a question for the people that presented, and maybe you, Jen. With college students, it seems like we give a lot of homework for new content. They're kind of preparing for the next lesson. You know, they have to do advanced work. So is there any way to make that, is that the same rule? I mean, we're saying, you know, try not to give them, and I understand that for the younger kids. Do you think it's okay for college students? Or
I think college students are supposed to be, although they are not always, better learner, more skilled in learning how to learn. I do think if you have college students that are really struggling, providing them with some notes or some ways to note take is very beneficial. There's actually just a study that was produced on using PowerPoint and notes and whether it was better to give the students the PowerPoint slides, the PowerPoint notes, or nothing at all. And the end of the study, actually, what they found with their students, which are higher education students in, I want to guess engineering off the top of my head, they found that giving them nothing and making them take all their notes was more beneficial in their recall. But with other students that they had found, other studies I've read, they found that providing a note taker that organizes the notes and allows them to structure it, but leaving room for them to additionally add notes was better, which is one of the strategies that was presented tonight.
mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, they talked about scaffolded note taking, which is what you're mentioning there, Jen. Yeah. I've also seen examples of flipped classroom, even at collegiate levels. So, for example, for my minor at Central, we would study the literature or whatever was asked of us, and then when we entered the classroom, we would apply that knowledge, the entire portion of, you know, what was supposed to be lecture. So you could try that way too.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's what we do. Yeah. We do that quite a bit. So I just wondered if there were any negative to that.
Yeah, there probably is, but I think they're assuming that someone that's heading into higher education has learned how to learn more so than someone who's in the lower, especially the lower K-12 grades. So that's why I would go with that. And is it Katie Braun?
Sorry.
Kay Braun, what is your first name? I'm sorry.
It's Katie.
Okay. It's really interesting to me because I had a Katie probably 5 or 6 years ago in class whenever I was teaching high school still. So every time I go to say Katie, I want to like correct myself and say it's not that, but then it is. Whenever you say about being able to learn better when you're focusing on just listening instead of writing, there is also some evidence with students that do not have good reading and writing skills, that providing them with a set of notes after the lesson, so they listen to it and they focus on that, and then providing it, because it's cognitive load theory, and it's processing the sensory processing that they're trying to take in things, especially if they're watching a PowerPoint, listening to you and trying to write notes. It's overloading their brain and they're really struggling with that. So especially with younger students or students that are not saying this is applying to you, I don't mean to apply that, but especially with students that are younger students or ones that have difficulty reading and processing information or writing, providing them with a full set of notes afterwards, like especially for those of you that have whiteboards that can screen capture, that's really, really beneficial for students that are learning readers or struggling readers, especially because of that cognitive load theory and the sensory processing. So, yes, good point, Samantha. I think that with these two chapters, they work together really well. And I do think that you can build one lesson that has all the strategies into it if you were able to just kind of think through and think how you would apply them or how you would structure them in there. If that's the case, there's 2 chapter slots to put in your lessons, one for chapter 6, one for chapter 7. As I said before, if you're going to just put all of them into one, if you want to put them into one lesson, drop it into like chapter 6, and then in chapter 7, just go in and say, I turned this in with chapter 6. That way it shows up as something to grade for me to see, and that triggers me to remember to go back and put the score across instead of having you turn it in twice and upload both pieces of it, or write up 2 separate lesson plans. And you guys are doing really good with your lesson plans. I am really happy with what you're doing. I've been not finding a whole lot of things to complain about as you're going through. So this is lots of gold stars. All right. Any other questions for this evening, for the presenters or for me, or about technologies to work with this? Since I am a tech person, I do want to tell you that one thing I've seen is really cool is for instructional videos on how to do the homework. When it says about sending the homework home and giving the parents, if you put a little QR code link to a video that you've created or that somebody else has created on how to do that homework, and put it on the corner of your worksheet that is being sent home, the parents can scan it with your iPhone camera will even do that now without even having to have a separate app. I think Snapchat will too. You can scan it and then it'll pull up the video. The parents can watch that and then they know how to help their student, or the students can watch it on their own and provide them with a little instruction on how to do it, or instructions for the assignment or something like that. So it's just a little kind of tech tool hint that I've seen to really provide feedback, provide some instruction, and really make the homework work well in some other settings, other than just being in your classroom with the students alone. So any other questions, comments, anything from you guys?
I didn't know what a QR code, where you get that. I know it's a little square one, right?
If you look up QR code generator,
Oh.
Hold on, I can search and find you. I used to tell everybody to use the Google spreadsheet that had the QR code generator built into it. It was amazing. And the latest update that they've done to that has really made it difficult to take the codes off of it. Hold on, my computer's not being. There's about 15 different ones that you could use. QR code generator is, don't pay for it, use the free version. You punch in a website and it allows you to pull up a QR code real easily. So if you have your little video, you save it into your Google Drive or save it into YouTube, then you have the link there really easily to do that with, or to other instructional materials, class rules, anything like that.
I actually use QR codes and have my students scan them for restroom checkout, because it auto stamps it for the time. And then I just created a Google form, and they just type in, their name, and and then a drop down on like, where are you going? So actually have them do it when they leave and then when they come back. And once after, like in the beginning, it's slow, but after a while, they get on.
That's an awesome idea. I've not seen it used for that. I've seen it used for all kinds of other things, but that's a fantastic idea. Okay. Anybody else have any other comments, any other questions, anything else for the good of the order? All right. Thank you guys for a great class today. And